All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Alternative Energy Committee meeting for the town of Cohasset on October 12th, 2023. In accordance with Massachusetts law, we are meeting virtually as allowed in accordance with the open meeting laws. And we will start our meeting with some introductions. But if we are to take a vote, because we are virtually participating, we'll have to do a roll call vote where we say our name and how we're voting. But we will worry about that when we get to it. Welcome, everybody. This is a full committee, which we're very excited about, including a new position as an associate member, which for your first time, Barbara, you get to be an actual member that has voting powers because you are getting to replace Debbie.
Oh, how exciting. Thank you.
Yes, exciting for us as well. So why don't we go around and make some introductions of who we are and our background on the Alternative Energy Committee and alternative energy issues. And then moving forward, we will go and proceed with the agenda, the rest of the agenda. So I'll start. Tanya Bodell, I'm the chair of the Alternative Energy Committee, and I have been a consultant in the energy space for 3 decades and have been a member of this committee twice. This is my 4th year on this round, and I was a member for 3 years back in the 2010 to 2013 period.
I'll go. I'm Steve Wenner, chair of the aggregation subcommittee. It's been my main activity on our committee for the last few years.
All right, I guess I can go. My name is Josh Staunton. I am coming up on 2 years on the committee. Most recently been focused on the getting our carbon footprint in town.
I can go. I'm Martha Jimmy. I'm brand new to this committee. I have a background in real estate investment management, and I'm currently a landscape designer. I don't really have a background in energy. I just my husband and I have adopted alternative energy practices in our home and lifestyle, and I'm just interested.
I'm Tom Daly, and I'm brand new also. I had 30 years in the military, but most recently 22 years at Boston University in charge of facilities there, and started the energy conservation move to zero carbon by 2050.
I'm happy to go next. I'm Barbara Russell. I too am a newbie. I have an investment banking business in town, and I'm a professor at UMass. And I judge a lot of pitch competitions, and I judge a lot of climate tech pitch competitions, and I'm involved in the ecosystem of climate tech in Boston.
Great. And then Ginny, do you want to introduce yourself? And then Taylor, I know we'll hear more from you later, but why don't you two introduce yourselves as well?
Sure. I'm Ginny LeClaire. I am the Sustainability Coordinator Consultant for the town of Cohasset and Hingham, and I'm a Cohasset resident.
I'm Taylor Clark. I am a current Sustainability Master's candidate at Harvard University Extension Program, and I am working with Cohasset on a microgrid proposal as part of my thesis or capstone for my degree.
Great. Wonderful. So just a reminder to everyone who is a member, we are required to take ethics training once every 2 years. And once you take that online and receive the certificate, you need to submit a copy of that certificate to the clerk, who will keep it on record. And I just want to confirm, has everybody taken the ethics training? Yes. And Steve?
Yes.
You've taken it recently?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And Barbara, you're done with it too?
I'm not done with it yet. I'm actually taking this and my UMass. The training is identical because it's a state field.
Oh.
It's going to be next week, but
So are you gonna get a twofer?
I think I'm getting a twofer.
Excellent. Well, that's very efficient. Well, that's fabulous. All right, good. So we are compliant and we will continue to proceed. And you will know, and as Steve knows, I often talk about open meeting laws and ethics issues and other things and try to make sure that we have a very clean committee that is in compliance with everything that we need to be in compliance with. And I'm very respectful of all that just because we do great work. And the last thing that I want is our great work to be somehow impugned by lack of awareness of the ethics requirements or the other rules around municipal operations. And we are employees of the town, even though we're volunteers. So we're subject to the same rules that town employees are subject to. Okay, moving on to our next, I circulated a set of the meeting minutes from September 14th, 2023. What I'm going to do, I realized within 48 hours of sending out the agenda that we had not officially approved the July meeting minutes, that we had deferred those last meeting in the September. So what I'll do is right now take a moment for us to review the September 14th, 2023 meeting minutes and ask for a motion to approve or any other comments or changes people want. And then when we get to the matters not reasonably known in advance, we will take a vote on the July meeting minutes.
Are you sure we didn't do July? I thought we, because I remember saying I wasn't here for it.
I think we deferred, according to the meeting minutes from September 14th, we deferred the vote.
Okay.
I don't know if we felt
I
like.
remember abstaining from the vote, but okay. Fair enough.
Well, actually, does anybody else remember? Because if we want to change the September 14th, 2023 meeting minutes to reflect a vote and approval of the minutes, we can do that, or we can just revote approval. I know it was such an exciting part of our meeting. All right, let's be safe and just go to approve them on the matters not reasonably known in advance. But if everybody could take a moment to review the September 14th meeting minutes, and then if there are any changes, please, let's have a discussion on that.
The only change that I see is the we established exploratory committee for the publicizing of results for the 2023 gas inventory.
Mhm.
I see we have 5 people on there, and I know I was originally part of it, but I kind of, you can only have 4 people, right? So we have 5 people assigned.
3. But did we say all 5 were assigned to the committee?
That's what it says,
Okay. Let me,
because it says Debbie Cook, me, Steve, Barbara, and Doran.
okay, so Dorn's not a member, so that means we have 4
Okay.
members. But I think, who was it that agreed that they would be sort of a stand-in or participate separately?
I mean, I kind of said I would do that to let other people kind of go to the, but I just want to make sure that, yeah, if that was okay, that we have that many people in it.
Yeah, we can have that
Okay.
many people. It's just you can't
Right.
all meet at the same time.
Okay.
All right. So should we keep it as it is? If we want, we could put in a note that
That's fine.
we not meet. Okay, we'll keep it as it is. Any other? All right, can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 14th, 2023?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Thank you,
I'll
Josh.
second it.
Second.
Steve. So Josh made a motion to approve the minutes. Steve seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. And again, we have to do a roll call vote. Tanya Bodell to approve the minutes. Aye.
Steve Winter, aye.
Tom Daly, aye.
Martha again, Jimmy, I.
Barbara Russell, I.
Josh Dotten, aye.
Perfect. The minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you. Okay, leadership positions. So every year, and especially now that we have a brand new set of members, we have a chair, vice chair, and secretary. I have been playing the role of the chair. I'm happy to continue to do so, but I'm also very open to having somebody else step in as chair. We have not had the vice chair seat open for a couple of months. And I did ask Debbie if she, and actually now that she's not here, we should probably vote her to be the chair. But she said she did not want to be the chair. And she said that I asked if she wanted to step out of the secretary role. And she said she would be happy to continue in the role of taking the meeting minutes. But I also think she'd be fabulous as a vice chair. But we also have that opening. And I guess let's have a discussion about, I know we have a lot of newbies and maybe you'd want to just sort of test it out first. On the other hand, we have some very seasoned players who could step in and play a great role. So I guess, how do people feel?
I think you should still be the chair. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And everything else, I mean, if so, Debbie wants to stick with secretaries that you said.
Unless somebody's dying to take the meeting minutes, which by the way, she does an excellent job, but I'm sure
Yeah.
there are other people on this committee who would do an excellent job as well. If
Yeah,
somebody's
I
dying,
tried to be secretary in organizations in the past and it's always a disaster, so. I'm really glad that Debbie's doing such a great job.
she does a fabulous job. Okay, so why don't we have Debbie stay on as, I mean, I guess, Steve, do you have, you know Debbie also personally, do you think when she says, no, keep me as secretary, that's because she really doesn't want to be vice chair, or she's humble to want to be vice chair? It's a little unfair because she's not here, but at the same time,
I don't know. I mean, she's very active and, has a lot of ideas and wants to participate at a high level. But I don't think she has any particular desire to be vice chair. At least she hasn't expressed it to me.
okay, so why don't we can always change this too. Why don't we keep her as secretary, since she did express that she'd be happy to continue in that role. I'm happy to continue on as chair. And so now the question is, who would like to be vice chair? And I will say, even for those who are new, being vice chair is a light lift. It's just sort of, working with me to do the agenda and step in if I can't participate and run the meeting.
Does it make sense to defer the decision on that until Deb comes back? Because rather than appoint a vice chair tonight?
Up to everybody. So I guess if we did that, we can defer this until the next meeting. But she did, I asked her if she wanted to be chair or vice chair.
Did Barbara just say she wanted to be vice chair?
Ah, thanks, Josh. No, I'm not even a real member yet. All right. It was just a suggestion.
I would also offer that if Debbie would like to be the vice chair, I'd be happy to take notes. But I don't know that I would do as good of a job as her because I'm new and I don't have all the lingo down. So just a thought.
Okay, I love that thought. Let's defer. I love all these thoughts. So why don't we defer? I think this is good that we had a discussion. Let's defer until our next meeting to do an official vote. I will talk to Debbie and suggest to her that everybody thought she'd be a fabulous vice chair, and that Martha had volunteered to do the notes. And Martha, just so you know, Debbie didn't necessarily have the lingo when she started either. And so she would do a first cut and then send it to me. And then I, fill things in or correct language or whatever. So,
Got it. Okay.
okay. So why don't we, is everybody comfortable deferring this vote until next meeting? All right. And then anybody who knows Debbie, if you want to, feel free to tell her that we all felt like she should be vice chair.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll defer the vote on that, but I think that would be great. And it'd be nice to have a full leadership team again. Okay. I appreciate the discussion. Next up are updates. So Jenny and then Debbie and Taylor, but I guess Taylor, do you want to go first and just give us an update? Does that make sense, or what would be convenient for you?
Yeah, I think that'd work. I had mentioned to Jenny right before this, I don't have a ton to update. Reading through materials, catching up. The only request that I have is as part of my capstone delivery to present to you all before December 2nd. So if you would like me to present, hopefully I'll be ready. I might be ready. I might not be ready by next month's meeting, but I can definitely provide some material and update and insight. And sorry, my video cut out there for a second. If we want to do it in a regular meeting, that works too. If we want to set aside separate time for me to present the material, I can also do that. So just keep on your mind if that would be best to just keep it to one of these meetings, and I can always do kind of a an overview and present tentative findings to fulfill the requirement for the masters, and then December I could present a full report, a full write-up if with the completed report as well. So whatever works for you all as far as presenting that.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's give you a slot for November 9th. If you could try to get, as much done as you can, especially anything that would require our input or advice. We do have a committee who's here to help you. So
Right.
if you haven't met with them, let's make that happen. And if there's anything that you need from that committee, and I know you've been working with Ginny on getting information and data, we're happy to help you on that in advance. So I would say let's give you a slot for November 9th. At that point, we could make a decision about where you are and whether we want to do a meeting on, I guess, the 30th. It also doesn't have to be a Thursday, but it's usually good if we keep, it's just we've got the Thanksgiving week on the 20th.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit difficult. And then we jump into Christmas, right? Oh, and the 30th. I'm going to pitch this shamelessly. My daughter is the lead in Rent, which is a musical at the Cohasset High School. She's playing Mark, and her best friend is playing Roger. And I said, oh my God, that's great. You don't have to pretend you're friends. You can just do that on the thing. So that is Thursday night. So I will not be available on the 30th of November. So I guess my point is the end of November starts to get tight. So it'd be great if we can get as much done as possible, especially any decisions. And I do think if this committee could not be surprised when you do the final presentation, but have the opportunity to provide input along the way, and then have an opportunity to do a final vote to approve it, embrace it, support it, whatever we want to, however we want to phrase it.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, great. And just to complete the advertisement, Rent is playing for the Cohasset High School on Thursday evening on the 30th, Friday evening, December 1st, and I think a Saturday matinee on the 2nd. And it is a very, very talented group of people that the Cohasset High School has in these roles. So it should be fabulous.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is that part of my official duties to record this into the minutes?
Yeah. Record that into the minutes and we'll put a big box around it, maybe with
Okay.
little theater lights.
All right.
And you will note that there are these little public service announcements that are thrown into different meetings. So I don't feel guilty doing that.
You shouldn't feel guilty.
Or shameless. I'm not shameless about, I am shameless about doing it as well. But yeah, so suddenly put it into the meeting minutes and we'll put it and I will share it with her and she will be very embarrassed as teenagers are.
All right,
Okay.
well, that's everything for me. So I'll hop off and let y'all keep going.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. And everything's going well? Everything, you're getting everything you need?
I'm digging through it. I am a little bit behind. We had some other stuff due for the class that I've been working on, and I'm ready to dive into this and start chasing down any additional info I need. So
Perfect. All right. Well, you have us
All
at
right.
your disposal, so please make use of us.
awesome.
Okay.
Will
Cool.
do.
Thank you, Taylor.
Bye.
Okay, Ginny, back to you. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, thank you for the plug on Rent, because I always seem to miss these musicals and I've been dying to take my daughters to see one. So I'll have to, well, I just jotted down November 30th and I'll look at the other dates. We'll definitely be there. So it's really exciting. I'm glad you mentioned that. Since the last meeting, I have a litany of things that I reached out to Michelle on and some information. One of the questions that we had at the last meeting was an update on the Mass CEC funds, if that money's been spent. And we talked about how it needs to be spent before the end of the year. So just for everybody else, these were funds that that Tanya helped secure to do battery storage and at the American Legion Post. And that money needs to be spent before the end of the year. And we reached out to Michelle just asking, where they were on this and if they need any help with procurement or any other information. She said that she's working on it and that she'll get back to us. So I emailed her again prior to this meeting, just asking for any more updates, but I haven't heard back. So I'll follow up with her on that again. And then the Stop and Shop rooftop solar contract. Tanya, I sent you an email earlier. I wasn't exactly clear on that. So it sounds like there might be some conflicting information. It sounds like Stop and Shop has approved the lease for the solar. Is that correct?
So there are a lot of moving parts. The one part that we would like is for town council to review the draft of the credit agreement. So the way that solar project would be set up is the town would buy the credits and get a guaranteed savings that gets applied to our electricity bill. That was drafted by Palmer Capital, and it is a contract that we could use for any guaranteed savings that somebody's willing to give us. It doesn't have to be a solar array that's in town. It could be as long as it's in the same, as long as it's in the national grid zone and CMAS, the Southeast Massachusetts zone of ISO New England, we could just get guaranteed savings by the credits. And the way it works is you buy the credits for a lower price, a discount off of the value of the credits. So we'd like to get that contract reviewed. We have been told, we did receive a letter of support from Stasco, who owns the Stop and Shop buildings, that he'd be willing to host solar. I've also heard he's not interested in hosting the solar. The National Grid was doing a cluster study to understand how much more solar could be put on the South Shore without doing significant upgrades. That was supposed to be done in 6 months. It's now, they've taken the time frame off and they're not committing to anything. So we need to talk to National Grid. So there are a lot of other moving parts, but there would be value in just having the contract reviewed by town council so that we could use it, if not for that project, for any other project where we could get guaranteed savings.
Okay, and I did reach out to Michelle asking her where we were at the town council review. And I've reached out a couple times asking for like the National Grid contact. Usually each town has like some rep that they reach out to so that we could, get more information about where they are in this study and how much longer we have to wait for this. So I'll continue to pursue that. And I also reached out to Palmer Capital to ask, about the conflicting level of interest of Mr. Satsko for the solar. So I hope to find out more about that.
Great.
And then for the National Grid fleet assessment, Martha and I met last week. So last week, I believe it was last week. And we talked through both the green communities and the National Grid fleet assessment program. We talked about what each program is and what we hope to achieve. And then since that time, I've been able to have conversations with a representative from National Grid fleet assessment program and to understand a little bit more about what we have to do. And I was able to get from Michelle the vehicle inventory. So right now, Martha and I are working to combine to basically look at the National Grid fleet assessment and then the Green Communities fleet assessment and compare the two, see where there's any differences. And then what National Grid needs is they need more information on that, more information than what the Green Communities provides in order to do their full analysis. So that will mean, going back to the various fleet owners or facility directors and asking about their vehicles, how much mileage is on the vehicle currently, if they have plans to replace the vehicle, if they have an interest in replacing the vehicle, and then filling out what our priorities are. So this is basically we can make our recommendations for which vehicles, and then they'll come up with what vehicles, a compatible EV vehicle to the existing vehicle, say for like the building department or the health department. And then that rolls into also applying for more electric vehicle charging stations, if we feel that there's a need for more electric vehicle charging stations within the town. And Martha and I talked a little bit about that. We have, I think I said 16 ports throughout the town. And so it's a matter of, if we, some of the places that we identified as potentially needing some additional ports would be the DPW, if we move to a new police or fire station, or if we move to a new town hall, those locations. But obviously those are a couple years out, but talked about additional charging at the schools such as Osgood, Deer Hill, and the DPW were the ones that we identified first off. So I wanted to get your thoughts on all of that. If you have any additional places, or if you would say, don't add more, we don't need more.
I think you had
Jenny?
also recommended the sports fields. Maybe
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Jenny, just a thought here, regardless of where we put them, we need at least one level 3 charger somewhere in town. I know it's expensive, but I would say forego putting in more level 2 chargers and put all our money into getting a level 3 if we can.
Okay. So that's an interesting program that we're still working our way through. And let me look back here at my notes. Let's see. Who receives electricity credits? So we're wondering from the landfill, who received those electricity credits, and if we would be able to see the reports, And Michelle responded that they receive the on-bill credits and the reports. They're generated monthly by Palmer Capital, and they're sent to Diane Phillips, who I do not know who that is. I don't know if any of you know who she is. Okay, I'll find out who Diane Phillips is.
We get the net benefits sent to us, Tanya and I. From
Oh, they
Palmer.
do send it to you too as well?
They send the net benefit. I'm not sure if that has to do with if there's another report that shows us getting actually credited. Tanya, you're on mute.
Sorry. So we report this every month. We receive as part of the data report, and we receive a total value that we're receiving from the landfill. So what we're saving in electricity costs for the credit versus what we're paying. That's in total. I think what Ginny was looking into is a confirmation that those credits are actually being allocated appropriately to different accounts at a level that doesn't let us lose anything. So if we had sent all of the credits to, say, the police station, and we were producing more than the police station's bill, we would not be receiving the full value of the credits. But I believe what they've done is allocated them to the schools and to some other accounts that the town has. So what we're trying to understand is which accounts are they going towards? And we want to confirm that we're not doing something silly that would prevent us from receiving the full amount of the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Like right, like wasting the credits as your example was before.
correct.
Okay, so I'll follow up. I think I don't know who Diane Phillips is. I'll ask who that is, but I'll follow up again with Palmer and ask them, because they probably have a better idea of where they're allocated. But I'll also ask Michelle who Diane Phillips is. She could be, someone in finance who knows which bills are being accredited to.
Yeah, I think I mean, you might need to go to both, right? Because we need to understand which accounts are getting the credits.
And she's a town accountant.
Oh, thanks for looking that up.
And which accounts are getting the credits, and just making sure that the amount of the credits that are being allocated to the accounts are not exceeding the annual usage or the annual charges.
Okay.
Because if they are, National Grid is not in the business of writing checks to their customers. And so if you're allocating credits or overproducing the solar energy levels, you will lose the value. So this is just making sure that people are doing their job.
Yep.
And that we're realizing the full value of the credits. So we're being a bit of a watchdog here, but
no, it's good.
We need to be.
Okay, I will follow up with Diane Phillips and introduce myself. And then we talked about what's the municipal electricity rate, and who is the competitive supplier that the town partnered with. And Michelle responded to us, it's BP Energy. And we were wondering about the contract start and end date. It started on June 1st, 2024, or it will start, and it expires June 1st, 2027. And she put down that it's $127.41 per megawatt hour. So $127.41 per megawatt hour.
But that starts next June?
June 1st, 2024.
So what are we paying now?
Don't know, but I will find that out.
Okay, so that's 12.7 cents per kilowatt hour. In our charging stations, I think are charging 22 cents.
Right.
And that's partly why we want to understand what the town is paying as part of the EV charging station.
Does that include the transmission charges or just the supply charge?
I'm not sure. She didn't break that down for me, but I can ask her.
That will be just the supply charge.
Well, then to compare to our, see whether our 22 cents for the charging stations is still reasonable, we need to know what the transmission charges are also.
It's usually almost double. It almost doubles it. It's almost equal to the charge of the kilowatt hour.
Okay, so we still don't have the full information that we're looking for.
Yep.
We want to understand what our current charges are on a delivered basis, as well as the supply side only. And we want to understand, with respect to the pricing starting in June, is that supply only or is that delivered?
Okay, I'll follow up.
Steve, that was a great point.
And then my last update is that I continue to work with our facilities director, Nick, and his consultant on the Green Communities grant application, which is due between the 16th and the 20th of October. So they have sent me cut sheets and other information, and I'm now putting it basically like you suggested, Tanya, taking our last application and just updating it with this new information for the new schools.
Okay. And do you anticipate any issue with getting that in on time?
No.
Great. And could you just explain to the committee members, especially
sure.
ones who are new, what the Green Communities program is and what this grant is and how it ties into our prior grants?
Yeah, so Green Communities is a program through the Department of Energy Resources. It's a program that helps communities. They offer more of a carrot than a stick in terms of helping communities to reduce their energy usage and their carbon footprint. It's focused on municipal buildings. There's a software called Mass Energy Insight where we can track our energy usage per building, and we can look at our energy consumption and our overall carbon emissions for the municipal buildings. And each year it's a competitive grant program, and each year we upload into this Mass Energy Insight software our oil, natural gas, propane. Since we're an investor-owned utility, the electricity information is automatically uploaded. We don't have to manually put that in. And then it gives us a look at all of our buildings. We also enter data in about our fleets, our vehicles, the vehicles miles per gallon, and that's updated annually. So that's due in December, and that's required December 1st. It's required to submit that in order to be eligible for these competitive grants. And they offer 2 grant rounds, a spring and a fall block grants, and they're 200. Our cap is $200,000 for grant applications. And last year, the town, working with the facilities director, submitted grants for basically like 99,000 each, just under 100,000 for controls, HVAC controls for the high school, middle school. And the facilities director would very much like to submit that again for Osgood and Deer Hill, so that he can have consistent controls throughout all of the buildings for the schools. And what these controls do is that he can look on his phone or any kind of mobile device and see what each room is doing, how it's fluctuating. He can control the heating and air conditioning in each room. He can make them more comfortable. If there's a snow day, he doesn't have to go in. He can adjust the boiler system from his phone. It allows for more energy efficiency, increased comfort, and overall a better operating system. So that's what we're applying for again this year for our different buildings. And I should say that that these grant awards are $200,000. There is an opportunity for a $500,000 grant, but that's for a complete decarbonization of a building. But it's something to think about in the future if we are interested, and if we do reach a net zero goal, looking to or if there's new buildings being built, to look at, you know, trying to decarbonize buildings or build net zero.
Well, so there's talk of maybe getting a new police or fire facility. Could we possibly consider encouraging a net zero building there and get a $500,000 grant for that?
Yeah, I think that I need to get more information on this, but there is legislation that I understand that's coming through for police and fire stations. Tom, maybe you know more about that.
Yeah, I went to the last meeting that they had, and they're looking at purchasing an existing building. I think my comments back were there's not a lot to be grasped here, because these are buildings, both the town hall and what they're planning for police and fire are existing buildings.
Which is
well
what
past the-
communities wants. Yes, they want an existing building to decarbonize, to
Yeah,
take
that-
up. So
Yeah,
that
I
would
don't-
work if it was a
They
building
did
and a
not,
new building.
the firehouse, the existing firehouse police station is going to remain the firehouse. And that looks like a great target of opportunity, because the boilers in that building are about shot.
Yeah.
So there's great opportunity, I think, with the existing firehouse. I don't know how new the equipment is in the proposed police station up on 3A, or the town hall, which is all brand new equipment. I don't know what they put in there, and I forget the name. It's where Simply Smith's used to be.
Oh, right,
That
right.
new structure in there.
Mhm.
Uh,
And go ahead, Steve.
oh, I don't want to interrupt, but when you're through with talking, then I'll make my comment.
I was just going to say that we're looking right now for in Hingham to decarbonize the central fire station. So I'll let you know how that goes, and then you can consider if you want to apply
told
for
you.
a fire station in Cohasset.
So I just have a question. Do we know who the regional coordinator for green communities is now?
For us, it's Lisa, and let me look up her last name. Lisa Sullivan.
Lisa Sullivan. Would it be useful to have her come and make a brief presentation, update us on green communities? And
Well,
you
she
know.
did just come and did a virtual visit of our buildings to close out that last grant round. So we just closed out that last grant round in the spring. So she's, I mean, and her and I talk on a regular basis, so she's very aware of the work that we're doing. I don't know if it'd be beneficial for her to make a green communities presentation. They usually do that when you're looking to become a green community.
Yeah, I know, but it's been so many years. I'm just wondering. I'd be curious to find out how the programs have been going generally in Massachusetts, and what the newer opportunities are. I mean, maybe there's some details about grant opportunities that she could give us that as a committee we're not totally aware of yet. I don't know. I'm just wondering whether that would be useful.
What I can do is I can send you, if you would like to see it, the Green Communities project opportunity notice, the PON, which talks about all of the different types of grant projects you can apply for. And now that will change potentially next year. But for this grant round, because our facilities director wanted to continue the momentum, we didn't look at, exploring other opportunities that are identified in the PON.
I'm also wondering about our municipal carbon footprint and whether that's tracking good enough for green communities to make them happy, or whether we're not living up to our promises, or what, I don't know. I'm just asking whether the committee would like to have a little report on that.
Well, what I
Right.
can do as well is before before the annual report's due December 1st, I can send you the most updated report on what our carbon footprint looks like, because we'll have all of the new information loaded in there for fiscal year 2023. So I can share that Green Communities report that
Well, I don't have any great desire to see it myself. I'm talking about for the committee. I'm just asking the committee whether there's any interest. It sounds like there isn't, but I'm just asking that.
I'll open it up to the group, but last we heard, they were thinking of doing a Green Leaders program. And I think that was the last time, Steve, that they did come and talk to us.
When was that? I don't remember.
I have to go back to the minutes and look, but I think they were talking about a Green Leaders program.
Yeah, they're
would
still
be-
developing that.
Was
it
that
would be
like
a Green
years
Communities
ago
2.
that they, or is
No,
that?
it was like last year, I think.
Yeah.
It was to do a Green Communities 2.0
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
because
Oh.
we're almost out of money. So just if I could share my talking about Green Communities so that we can take a moment to be happy about how beneficial this has been for the town. Trying to see, I pulled it up. The total amount of grants that we have gotten from the Green Communities program is around $825,000 since we joined. And this would be a grant for 200,000. So we would be breaking $1 million in grant money from the Green Communities program, which is great, especially for an 8,000 person town. But they do have a cap on funding. And that's why I think they were thinking of rolling out a Green Leaders program. So it seems like it would make sense to have them come talk to us, and they'd want to talk to us if the Green Leaders program gets up and running. Or if they end up having more money through the Green Communities program for grants. But I open it up to the whole group. What do people think? And are there any questions? Right? For some of you, this is new.
I would feel like it would be great if we could have her come and talk with us just for information and also to cultivate the relationship. But if it's an imposition on her, I don't think we should do it. I think it would be helpful.
Others?
I'd like to see her come.
I think it'd be interesting.
Okay, so Ginny, can you ask if they'd be interested in presenting to
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
Especially tell them we're interested about the Green Leaders program or anything else that they're thinking is coming down the pike. And I agree with Martha. Just creating that relationship is a good thing.
Okay.
I'm sharing right now the list. So if you go online, and I will include this in the meeting minutes. But if you go online, you can see what the grants are that have been awarded under the Green Communities program. And this is a list for Cohasset starting back in December 2015. And if you add these all up, it's $825,000. And you can see the last two grants were tied to the BMS controls. And those were placed on the high school, middle school, I believe. Part of that is to make sure our air conditioning or other building facility climate control is not fighting with each other.
That's impressive.
Welcome to the impressive committee, Martha. But so this is great. So thank you, Ginny, for putting in the request for another $200,000. And you can see why facilities would like to do this. That way it's the same technology for all of the schools. It can be controlled virtually and just, creates that much more information for understanding how the energy is being used in our biggest energy users, which are the schools. All right. Any other questions for Ginny? Great. So thank you, Ginny, for the update and for all of your work. This is great. And let us know if you need anything from us with respect to the Green Communities Grant, which is going in next week.
I will.
Wonderful. Okay, so I was going to have Debbie or Doran report, but I can give a quick report on the buildings and codes. So Doran and Debbie and I, following our last meeting, met prior to the zoning, was it the zoning bylaws committee, to talk about what had been put in as proposed changes or additions related to limitations on renewables. And we, thanks to Debbie's research, had examples from Duxbury and a couple of other towns on what they had adopted for language. And based on that, Doran and Debbie and I made recommendations in a very organized matrix that we submitted in advance of the meeting. The judge who has been helping them with the modifications to the bylaws reviewed our suggestions and agreed that some of our suggestions made sense, some of the changes in the wording, which just would be more appropriate, and so recommended some of the changes that we had suggested. And a lot of those are reflective of the conversation that this committee had. So I'm happy to send around that list if I didn't already, just so people could see what the suggestions were that we had proposed. And the zoning bylaw committee has taken them under advisement, has adopted some of them, and some of them did not want to adopt. And specifically, we had put in a limitation about the height of standalone solar ground mount, which had been set in at 12 feet. And we had added an additional limitation that would have prevented the shadow from the ground mounted solar from going onto another property. And that was a limitation that Duxbury had put in. And it was a limitation that the judge thought would open up a whole can of worms, because if we do that for the solar, why aren't you doing it for the fences? And why aren't you doing it for trees? And why aren't you doing it for garages and sheds and pergolas? And just thought it would open up a whole area of issue and precedent. But otherwise, generally, I think it was a worthwhile exercise, and we were able to provide value by providing our comments. And I will say Doran Hall, who works for Amoresco as a CFO, was fabulous. He was able to get information, identify that 12 feet is standard. Since then, Woody Chittick has said that there are new technologies that go up to 18 feet, the solar things that sort of fan out. And so I think they're thinking of increasing the height to 18 feet. But at that point, we just wanted to make sure it wasn't set too low to create a limitation for carports, for example. Oh, we also had identified the discrimination on flat roofs, and that the 10-degree requirement that they had proposed was nonsensical. And so we proposed language that had been adopted by Duxbury that was, I think, more in keeping with what everyone on this committee felt we should be trying to achieve. Any questions on the exciting zoning bylaw committee suggestions? Okay, Enel STEAM education program, just a quick update on that. I may have mentioned this before. Enel, who is providing the electric school bus demonstration project and management and a level 3 charger for the bus, reached out to us and said that they are rolling out a STEM program for schools tied to green and sustainability and renewables. and they were wondering if we were interested in being one of their initial, it's not demonstration projects, but one of their initial schools that they would roll this out to. And so I forwarded that suggestion along to the schools, and the superintendent and the school committee and staff met and were very excited about it. And the schools and NL are in conversation about implementation of that program.
Awesome.
It is. So again, I think Cohasset is getting a reputation for being very open to trying things out. And as a result, we are getting these types of opportunities and embracing it. So it's very exciting. Okay. Greenhouse gas inventory subcommittee. Do we have an update?
So, I guess I can give a little bit of an update. I know Debbie was kind of leading this, but the one thing, so Barbara and I just discussed today, like what would be a good next step, and we were talking about really we need to, we're gonna have to create some kind of grassroots momentum here with the town, and one way to like gauge that we thought would be to see if we could poll the town, get some idea of kind of where people are. Do they want to, have a climate action plan? Is that important to them? And with that type of information, if it was, if a majority of us did want that, I think that'd be some good backing for us to take it to the select board to say, listen, the town wants this. We need to fund this. We need to find a way. And, if they didn't want to do that, we could work on trying to, raise the money ourselves to finally just get, climate action plan together. So that's kind of what we were thinking. Barbara, anything that you wanted to add, or Steve, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, so we were discussing that we think it would be fantastic if we could get our own climate action plan. And the issue of funding. So how much does it cost? We really haven't, I don't know if you've gone down this path. Again, I'm new here, but I sent you the Acton plan, and I'm familiar with other plans throughout Massachusetts. Many of them were paid for by grants from the Community Compact Program and something called, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, with TAP, with Mass Technical Assistance Program, and the Mass Executive Office or something, Energy and Environmental Affairs. And so it was fully funded. And so that's one thing. But then we were talking and thought, what I don't have my fingers on the pulse as to what the Cohasset community perceives, how great a maybe a crisis, or how serious the reduction of greenhouse gases is for this community, and how we get our fingers on the pulse. And many communities did conduct a survey, a carefully worded survey to just suss out what people are thinking, especially in the light of the fact that Josh uncovered the fact that over a 5-year period, we actually increased our residential carbon footprint.
Per capita, we're the same though. But since our population went up a little bit from 2017, our total emissions were a little bit higher, but per capita, it was a wash.
How do those towns conduct those surveys? Do you know?
Some of them are published. Again, I'm involved with the one in the Cape that was done. And they published the surveys and the findings. I mean, I just think, I don't know.
I think it's great. I'm just wondering about the logistics of, I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm just trying to think about how we might do something like that. What are the logistics of doing it?
Yeah, well, I mean, many towns do surveys, right? So I think there's a best practices way of executing on the survey.
Junie, do you want to talk about what Hingham did?
Yeah, sure. So Hingham did a survey, and we can share that survey with you. It's in the back of the climate action plan. But they polled the citizens. We put together a survey through SurveyMonkey, asking them, how concerned they are about climate change. What is their greatest concern? Is it flooding? Is it heat? Is it is it drought? Is it food insecurities, invasive species? And then we went through and asked them, a series of other questions of basically, how active they would like to be, how they would like to be involved in the plan. So that's the survey. That was the survey that we put out to them once we had a climate action plan. And then we conducted several other surveys. And Hingham has done other surveys through Google Docs. The Cleaner Greener Hingham has done many different surveys, polling them about compost bins, or not compost bins, but composting services. So there's many different ways that we could do a survey and poll the residents of Cohasset.
Jenny, about how many people were you able to reach in Hingham with these surveys, and how many people actually responded, as a percentage of the households?
You're testing my memory here. Tanya,
are we talking about 5% return,
I think it was
participated, or 20%, or, I'm just a ballpark number here.
Was it like 370 people responded, I think? You can pull it
So
up, but
we're talking like less than 5%, something. Like
Right. I think there's 8,000 households in Hingham. So I think it was, we don't know if it represented households or individuals, but I think it was around 400 out of 32,000 people, which is everybody, or 24,000. But of the I think it was around 5%. And of course, they're very excited people. One way or the other.
And how did you
Yeah.
reach out to people? How did you get them to be aware that there was a survey to respond to?
Yeah, so through the farmers market, through the town's website, through different boards and committees, sending it to boards and committees, through flyers with QR codes, newspaper articles. That's generally the way that we did.
So it was a big effort, a big outreach effort.
Yeah, and here in Cohasset, I think you would do the similar. Justin, the town manager, puts out an email weekly, so that could go out in there, as well as the papers, in case you're not signed up for that, and then flyering EcoFest. If we do EcoFest again this year, that would be a great way. The farmers market, and then reaching out to the different churches, which we did as well, reaching out to different groups, churches, businesses, Chamber of Commerce, a whole list of groups you can get information, send that information to. And just because you send it to everyone doesn't mean that they're going to respond. So
yeah, right. And only those people they're really interested will respond. So you're not getting a.
How about schools? Do they do that, Jenny? Did they reach out to parents at schools? Do you know?
I can't remember. I can't remember if we specifically went through PSOs or parent organizations, or if the schools sent it out. But that is an opportunity, 100%, to send it out through the schools. And we have in Cohasset green teams. And similar to Hingham, there's green teams, so you can reach out through the green teams at the high school, middle school, but also, this could be a good something that to time with Earth Day in April. If we start working on a survey now to have it launched leading up to Earth Day, and creating awareness for everything that this committee has done and everything that's going on in Cohasset.
If we're going to send out a mailer, to create some type of postcard that has some code on it that you would scan, or some website, or even something they could send back. I mean, would we be able to fund something like that? Do we have funds to pay somebody to have those made and sent out?
Yeah, we can ask for funds. I think we need to get the select board on board, right? We'd have to be very clear about what we're asking and why we're asking and what it would cost. And we're gonna need their support anyway, right? We don't want to be a rogue committee that's going off on our own, but I think there would be funding, and I don't think it would be that much, right? I think that one of the things Hingham also had was Hingham Municipal Light Plant, and they included it in their flyer, in their bills.
Yeah,
we
I
don't
remember
have
that
that.
when we started the aggregation program, we sent everybody in town a notice embedded in their water bill. I don't think it costs the town anything to do that.
Yeah, so there's ways that we can decrease. I mean, there is a cost, but there are ways that we can do it cost effectively. But I think the key thing is determining on our side. So if the committee could put together a proposal, just a one-page proposal, what would we like to do? What's the objective? What do we hope to gain? I would think gathering information is something that's benign, but there are members of the select board who may not want us to go there, and there are members who may, right? So I think we need to be clear about what we want to do and why, and how much we think it would cost or ways to do it, and talk to them about it and get their buy-in and approval.
And the next opportunity for that is when?
Well, I think it doesn't hurt to talk to individuals on the board. They're not allowed to talk to each other, right, under open meeting laws, but we can approach and off the record and just talk to them and say, hey, do you think this would be useful? So it might be useful to talk to Jean, for example, about this and give her our ideas first, and then she can say, no, don't even bother, or yeah, I'm open to it. Let's, at your next quarterly presentation, let's raise it. So we need to do a quarterly presentation with them. They should be opening now. There's usually a mad scramble. We have windows of opportunity outside of the standard budgeting and town meeting warrant article timing. And I think we're opening up into one of those windows, so we could do that fairly soon. But I think it'd be worthwhile talking to the chair first, and to, Michelle and Chris, making sure that they're okay with it. Something like this requires a lot of support and buy-in, right? You can't,
Something like what? A survey or a map? Their whole.
what we're proposing, because this is the first step to moving towards a climate action plan, right? Or decisions about whether or not we're going to go net zero as a town. So
Right.
the survey is asking, trying to get the pulse of the town on how important is this to you.
And once the town says, yes, we want this, then the next problem is going to be, okay, well, how are we going to fund this? And then, okay, now they want this. Now we have to search for funding. We have to get funding. And then exactly what Tanya said, what are our goals? Are we going to try to be a net zero by 2040, by 2050? What's the committee's goals? What is it going to be? A climate action plan? Is it going to be a climate action and resiliency plan? What kind of plan are you creating? What do you want it to look like?
Yeah, but I think Barbara's point is we don't even know what the town might have appetite for. And we might be surprised by the results.
Yeah.
But that's the point of the survey, is trying to get more information about how do people feel about this. And I think the pitch to the select board is, we don't know. I don't know if you know, but wouldn't it be good for us to know? It also helps us as a committee know, and the select board who oversees us, to understand what people in the town want. You know, we've taken an approach, which is we're trying to get grant money to move forward with alternative energy and energy efficiency and decreasing carbon. So this is what we're tasked with doing. That's part of our mission. And that's what we've been very successful at doing, with $2 million and counting on total revenues coming in the form of grants and subsidies and other things. But is there more that the town wants us to focus on, and doing something like this is consistent with our mission? So I think if we, you know, baby step it as let's find out. It's hard to say, no, I don't want to know the answer in public.
So Tanya, how do we do this specifically? Who should do the outreach from our?
Well, I think the first thing is the committee should put together a one pager on what the survey would be, what we want to do, you know, who, what, where, when, why, what we want to do, why do we want to do it, what are we hoping to get from it, how would we do it, who would receive it, when, and if there's any estimate of how much it would cost, you know, include that too. But just like a one pager. And then I think this committee can either have a consensus that subcommittee can start socializing it, or bring it back to this committee, or work with me to socialize it, you know. But I think this committee needs to have agreement that this is worthwhile doing. But I think the first step is get a one pager, and then let's start talking to some of the members of the select board about whether or not this is something they want to put on the agenda and talk about.
So mechanically, how does it work? So we put together the one pager, and then someone goes to Jean.
I would first
You
go
would,
to Jean.
okay.
I mean, we can spring it on them, but nobody likes surprises.
No. All right.
And I think we also want to have the town manager on board, because they're going to turn to the town manager and say, Chris, what do you think? And it's always better for them to the answer to be positive, right? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of it's not behind the scenes, it's just socializing it first. And knowing the answer when we go present, right? We don't want to get egg in our face of, hey, we want to, you know, this is something we think we should pursue. You tell us, is this something you want us to pursue? At our quarterly meetings, we do present that. We have our priorities for the year. So we have another opportunity. And I think this year, I'd have to go look, and it would be in the meeting minutes. We did do one of our first quarter presentations to the select board, I believe, did include exploration of what it takes to do a climate action plan. And it was exploration to understand what's required, what would be the steps, how would we go forward with that. And we can look and confirm that that was raised, because we had been looking at that as something to do this year. And if that is true, then part of the socialization when we do present it is to say, hey, and by the way, this was one of our priorities for the year. Here's what we've done. We have a committee. We'd like to get the feedback from the town. Here's a one pager describing what we'd like to do. It's a survey. Here's what we think it would cost. Do you agree we should pursue this?
So you think that we should stack all these together, maybe the one pager on the survey, and then why it's a piece of a larger puzzle to try to figure out how to get a cap done. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think we already have that first step, right? I think I have to go back and look at what our priorities were for this year, which is always good to do when you're approaching the fourth quarter anyway. But I do believe we did ask them, the select board, or we let them know that this was in our laundry list of things that we wanted to prioritize for 2023, which is understanding more about what a climate action plan would look like, and get more information about whether or not this is something the town would want to pursue.
I have a suggestion that I think what might be helpful is to make a list of all of the towns in Massachusetts that have created a climate action plan. Many of them are just like us in terms of demographics. Do you think that would be helpful?
Yes, we
spur them on?
may, no, it's very helpful. We may have presented them with that information when we
Oh,
explained
okay.
why we were doing that. But again, I think we just have to go back. Usually we put the presentations to the select board in the meeting minutes, so there's a record. But I don't want to spend this meeting searching through this, but I think so that you asked, what are the logistics of doing this? And I've sort of laid out, I think, a plan, but the next step would be to have this committee, which we've created to do exploration on this topic, put together what is our ask.
By the way, just a comment here on other towns' climate action plans. I think Brianna Bennett did an assessment of other towns' plans that she presented to the whole climate action committee.
Yeah, actually, that was Ginny and I. So we did put together a list of, I don't know how
Oh,
many
you did that,
towns, Ginny,
okay.
with links.
Yeah, we have all that information.
that,
available to
okay.
you. Yeah.
You said, Jenny, did you say you're gonna share it with us? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I can share that information with you.
If you have it, yeah, that'd be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, so creating one pager shouldn't take too long, especially if we have a pending meeting coming up. I mean, I think we could probably get a one pager together within a week or so, right? We put our heads together.
I hope so, as long as it's 3 of you, not 4.
As far as you know. Yep.
We don't want to be.
I'm only kidding. Yeah, we got it.
Do you remember what I said at the very beginning of this meeting?
Yes.
Okay, you know what, I'm going to just share so we know what we presented at the beginning. All right, so this is in the meeting minutes from May, which was after we had presented for the first quarter to the town about our priorities. We gave an update that Hingham was doing this, where Hingham came out. So maybe that was just an update. Realize existing opportunities, provided some other things that we were doing, and then talked about the school buses, and then got to questions. So I thought we had a list. There might have also been a July meeting. So this was April, where we were just giving them an update on where we were on things. Let's see. We wanted approval for the 2023 initiatives. Okay, so these were the initiatives I think we had identified. Okay, yeah, so climate action plan, carbon inventory, explore next steps and recommend. So again, nobody likes to be surprised. If you want a town to move in a certain direction, you do it slowly and gradually and diligently and deliberately. So we had already talked to them about one of our initiatives for 2023, climate action plan, carbon inventory, exploring next steps and recommendation. We have a subkit. So I would go back to this, do a screenshot of this page as part of our presentation and say, as you know, one of our initiatives for 2023 was exploring next steps and making a recommendation for climate action plan and carbon inventory. We have updated our carbon inventory. Here's what it shows. We established a subcommittee to look into this. They did this work. That subcommittee has realized that an important piece of information is something that we don't have, which is, how does the town feel? And as part of our 2023 initiative, we would like to pursue a survey to obtain that information. And we need that before we can make a recommendation to you. So we've laid the foundation already, because this was one of our 2023 initiatives. And it's not, and they may not remember that, but we would make sure we reminded them that this is something they had approved for us to pursue.
What document is that? Does this exist in, Tanya?
This is, if you go to our meeting minutes, This is in the May, I think it's May 11th, 2021. May 11th, I'm sorry, 2023. May 11th, 2023, the meeting minutes that are on the website.
Okay,
And they did not, and their meeting minutes should show that the only initiative that we identified that they had issues with was the zoning bylaws. They did not want us to participate with the zoning bylaws. And there was some internal issues on that were outside of us. Obviously, we've since participated on that, and it's fine. Okay, so is this clear? I mean, this is lesson on how to get things done in municipal governance. Okay. And as everybody who's worked on this committee already knows, and sometimes it's frustrating for some of the members, we like to be, I prefer us to get it done. And sometimes the best way to do that in my mind with this town is to just be diligent and lay brick after brick after brick, and all of a sudden you've got your structure and nobody can complain. Because we kept them apprised every step of the way. So I think we're in a great position. If we had not identified that as a 2023 initiative, it might be a little bit squirrely, but since we did, and we have, and now we've identified with our subcommittee where we are on our carbon inventory. So we've checked that box, and we've done more exploration about what would be required for a climate action plan. We also, as part of that, are going to have Hingham, Brad, I don't know, Ginny, if you want to ask Brad, I can ask Brad. We can both ask Brad. We'd like him to come and present to this committee.
Yeah, I can reach out to Brad.
But I think having Hingham come and talk to us about their climate action plan and what that entailed, so that we have a better feel for what's required. That would be another piece of the puzzle that we're exploring. But I think we can have as many people as we want come talk to us. We're still not going to know what the town wants.
We should probably wait to Brad though until after you draft that one pager and submit it to the town and make sure that the town has some interest in moving forward with a climate action plan.
We have the ability to go forward. We have a subcommittee, so I don't think we need to wait. Part of it's exploring what is required, because they might ask, well, if we put out the survey, then what?
Yep. They're doing a roadshow right now on their plan. They're being asked to present the plan to several different organizations. So I can ask, would you like this for your November meeting?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Sooner rather than later.
Okay.
And again, part of this, we can simultaneously have that geared up and ready to go while letting the select board know we are doing this and this and this and this.
Okay. So that would be November 9th?
Correct.
Okay. I'll ask him.
Great.
And the survey.
Oh, sorry, one second. Same with Lisa, right? You're looking to have Lisa come November 9th as well?
No, I don't think we have time for Lisa to come November 9th. I think Lisa has more flexibility. I don't know if we do that in the new year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, after this grant round's completed. Okay.
I don't know if when are they going to award the grant?
Beginning of January in the new year?
So I think it'd be better to have her come talk to us after the grant.
Okay. Great.
all right, could you repeat that? I'm trying to take lots and lots of notes. You could just tell me.
Sorry, I wasn't very clear. So we're going to ask Brad. So I'm going to ask Brad Moyer, Moyer. He's the chair of the Hingham Climate Action Committee, to come to our at our November 9th meeting. And then we'll ask Lisa Sullivan from Green Community to come present in the new year in January.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're throwing all of these names and acronyms, and so I'm glad you stopped and asked.
Okay. All right. So that's good timing. Remember also we have Taylor presenting us with an update on the 9th. So maybe we'd have Brad come and present to us starting at 8 o'clock p.m., depending on his timing. If he can make that Thursday. Okay. All right. So that's a good update from our greenhouse gas inventory subcommittee. I think update on grants. We've touched on most of these. Green communities we heard about, electric school bus demonstration project. I think we're all aware that's moving forward, and we're anticipating an electric bus in January. And we're looking to do some type of green ribbon cutting bus rides on the electric bus for the people who made it happen as part of the rollout. Mass CEC batteries for the VFW, we talked about that. Green School Works solar roofs. The schools are very, very interested in this. And we're just tracking that. And I don't know, Jenny, if you have an update on this Green School Works, but it seems like it's still a promise, but not finalized.
Yeah, when I talked to Joanne Becerra, the director of DOER, she said that it takes time to develop a grant program, and that they're still developing this grant program. So they don't have a deadline for it, for when it will be coming out. But I would anticipate probably next spring, summer at the earliest.
Okay. And so we're just monitoring that, and Select is hot and heavy on this. So they're monitoring it as well with us. And the schools are very interested in it. And so we've raised it for them to monitor as well. So I think hopefully we'll just keep monitoring it. And as that money becomes available, we'll be ready to go. And Ginny, you said you were pulling together information on this so that we had what we needed in a certain location.
I've reached out to Nick about the facilities manager about the ages of the roof of the buildings, and as well as plans of the building roofs, and anything that we can use to make a case. For example, if he's gone to Capitol before and asked for roof replacements or patching and has been denied, that can help build our case, saying, we can't get funding through any other source than this grant. We've been denied because it costs too much money. It's too big of a project. The roof's too old. So helping to build the case, gathering the information.
Okay, good. So we should pull that information into one location. Is there a town directory or a Dropbox?
So I've just been adding what he sends to me into a folder that I have. I can ask him if there's a shared. Well, actually, I know this answer. Sorry, I had to jog my memory again. The town does not allow Dropbox, and they have a shared folder within town. But as I'm a contract employee, I would not be able to have access to that shared folder. So it's a little wonky. I tried to do this with conservation when we were sharing large files for a grant. So they don't want us to create a Dropbox. But yeah, ultimately, once my contract's up with the town, this information will live between Michelle and Nick, and I can find out if the AEC can get access to a shared folder so that they could see this information.
Jenny, did you talk to Justin Schreier about that problem? He should help you be able to get into the common Google Docs folder.
Okay. I'll ask Justin. That's a good tip. I talked with some other IT manager at the town. So I'll ask Justin, because it'd be very nice to use Dropbox.
But the individual files are not large. It's not like we have big databases. These are just like PDF reports, right? And other
Right,
information. So
right.
could you just, I know you've been working with Martha, could you just email those, copy me, and I just want to make sure that we have a set of information and not get bogged down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and what I was saying is that basically, like, I was just trying to create a folder that everyone could see that information on. But Steve, I'll reach out to Justin about a Dropbox, because that would be nice if we could have
Well,
a
not
location-
Dropbox, but a Google
a Goo-
Docs.
Google Docs. Okay, either
Yeah,
one.
Martha, can you work with Jenny and sort of be the keeper of those docs? Because I think that's going to be key going into next year and for us to be ready
Yeah,
as soon as the Greenworks program happens. That'd be great.
yeah.
All right, good. Okay, and then solar energy projects, we already talked about the Stop and Shop building, which is the key opportunity that we currently have, but right now all solar energy projects are on hold, and that's why we're going to be reaching out to National Grid to understand what's going on with their cluster analysis, what's going on with new solar projects, and if we wanted to proceed with something, would there be any queue issues? This is also important with respect to the Greenworks program, because the whole point of Greenworks is to replace the roof so that they're solar ready. And we already know that the schools have the best roofs and the best opportunity in town for solar. Not only are they the biggest roofs, but those are also our biggest energy users. And so if we're able to put the solar panels on the roofs, it can go directly into the schools, either behind the meter or in front of the meter, and we can optimize the incentives accordingly. Also with Taylor's project, we might be looking at solar on the new building as well, or solar carports on the new building. So we need to understand what the ability to interconnect is given the national grid system right now. Okay, marketing and social media.
Yeah, there's not, unless if people have any ideas, I'm happy to discuss them. We don't have the one thing we were discussing is just doing from a marketing standpoint is the survey, sending out flyers and that way. But social media, unless we have any stories we want to get over to Justin. Yeah, there's nothing right now.
So I might have one. The National Grid, the new rates for National Grid have come out for the winter. And if you remember last winter, they were ridiculous because of the war and where liquefied natural gas prices were. But the new price has come out and it is above where our community aggregation price is.
What is the price?
I'm looking, it's online. Oh, maybe I kept it open. Hold on, because I was just looking at this today. It's like 18.4 cents, I believe, for the fixed rate. And the variable rate, which is a different monthly rate, varies from low to like in the mid 20s, even like 28 cents. Let me see if I can find it quickly and just pull it up for us. So, again, we knew with a 20-month community aggregation price that there were going to be periods where it was higher and periods where it was lower, because that's what a long-term fixed price does. And in fact, now that we're going into this winter, the fixed price is higher than our community aggregation price. So that might be something we want to advertise. I think we're on track to be close to whatever the default supply rates are over the course of the 20 months. Sorry, I'm just pulling. Okay. I'm going to share with everybody. This is on the National Grid website. And 18.213. So can everybody see this? So from November 1st to July 31st of next year, the fixed rate is 18.2 cents. And for the variable monthly rate, it ranges from basically 11.8 cents up to 25.9 cents. And the community aggregation price, I think, is 16.7. Is that right, Steve? Do you remember? Is it burned into your mind forever?
I've forgotten off the top of my head. I think it's 17 something.
But a low 17.
Yeah, low 17.
Okay. So community aggregation is saving our town money as we come into this winter. And we knew that it was going to be a hedge for the winter. So there's some nice savings that are going to be had during the winter, and then going into the summer, it's going to be back above what the market-based rate is. And then going in from August, we won't know August forward until National Grid updates its default supply prices. But if you look at last year, prices were at 34 cents.
Oh
which was incredibly expensive. And that was, part of the community aggregation program was to help protect against that type of winter price this winter. Things have settled down, but they still are getting up quite up there. And the reason it's 18 cents is where it is because they've extended it through July. If you look at last winter when it was 34 cents, it was only from November to April. And if you were to take the average from November to April, you would see it's probably in the 20s. I would say low 20s if you were to average those 6 months, in which case, again, our community aggregation price looks quite good. Okay, so
Tanya,
yes,
since you brought up the subject of aggregation prices, does that give me an opening to talk about aggregation and more generally, or not? Since it's not on the agenda, even though Debbie and I had an action item on it.
Did you act on your action item?
Certainly did.
Okay, so I guess since we're talking about marketing, what did you find out?
Okay, our action item was to approach Chris Senior and Michelle about the recent developments at the DPU and in the State House. And we did that. As you recall, there was a bill before the State House, House Bill 5832, and then there's also a proposal from National Grid, the DPU on guidelines for aggregations, and we're unhappy with those. So anyways, I talked to Chris about it, and Chris was didn't feel comfortable taking any action alone, so he suggests we talk to the select board. And so Debbie and I made a presentation to the select board, and the select board voted to endorse the bill before the State House, and they also agreed to sign on to the letter of comments to the DPU that was drafted by Good Energy, Peregrine Energy, and Colonial Power, along with the Green Energy Consumers Alliance and some other towns. Anyways, they agreed to sign on to those comments also. So there have been now 2 hearings before the State House. One of them was this morning, when I testified, and one 2 weeks ago. So Cohasset signed on to the bill along with at least 120, maybe 130 other towns in Massachusetts. So we're in good company. It's pretty much, at the hearing today, it lasted 2.5 hours and many people testified. Everybody who testified was in favor of the bill. There was no opposition whatsoever. So anyways, I just wanted to report on that. I thought you should be aware of the fact that we were before the select board. So if you talk to any select board members, that you'll be aware of that.
Okay. It'd be nice if you let me know in advance, but I appreciate
Well,
afterwards.
how about
letting
if we
us know.
just have a standing policy that anybody that has an action item from one meeting be automatically put on the agenda for the next meeting? I think that would be a good rule.
Right. I'm just saying, if anybody on the committee through their subcommittee and the agreement of this committee is going to go before the select board, just drop us a note so we know and can participate and give you moral support.
Okay.
Steve, what
Okay.
was the number of that bill? What was that bill again?
Hold on. I think I
It
have.
says 5832, but I can't find it online.
I'm sorry. I don't have it quite right here. Let
Oh,
me take.
that's all right. And you could always send it to us. I just wanted to
No,
to
don't
get
worry.
more
Send it.
information
Just,
about it.
hmm.
That's amazing.
Let me look. Should look in my on my calendar. Just a second here.
You know what, Steve, while you're looking at this, let me just suggest to everybody on the committee that the agenda has to
3853.
38.
38.
Thank you.
The agenda has to be posted 48 hours, 2 business days in advance of our meeting, which is Tuesday before our Thursday meeting. I try to get something out, a draft agenda out by the Friday before, but if there's anything anybody would like to be put on the agenda, just drop me an email and say, and copy Ginny, but to say, this is something I'd like to discuss at the next meeting. Debbie's usually like, I'd like to discuss the next 3 things at the next meeting. Can we put them on the agenda? And usually we have the space in the room. And especially if it's something that we're already talking about or that's already there. But even if it's something brand new, anybody who wants to put something on the agenda, just drop us a note in advance so that we can put it on the agenda and discuss it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, why not just make it automatic? If we have an action item, just assume that we're going to say something and put us on the agenda.
If there's something to report to, and I'm not talking to you, Steve, I'm talking to the new people who are here who don't know how we operate. So
Okay.
I'm just letting them know the agenda gets posted 2 business days in advance. And if you want something on it, let us know, ideally a week in advance, so we can put it in and try to rearrange things or make sure that we have what we need on the agenda. Okay. Great. Okay. Data report. Josh, how much money has our solar energy array saved us?
It is, drum roll, 1 sec.
Are you pulling it up? Are you going to share?
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, so this year it's 82,000, which is more than any year previous, as you can see on the far right, top right corner there. So we're over 410,000. And yeah, having a great year so far.
Oh, that's like crazy. So $1 million in grants from green communities. We're coming up to $500,000 in electricity savings from our solar energy array, 5 plus like 6 years into it, and 14
Your profit center.
Yep.
That's good. That's why we want more solar. And the credits can also give us guaranteed savings. So that's why we've asked town council, and we have for a while, to review the credit contract. And I think it's been put on hold because there was uncertainty about National Grid and Stasco and can we do it? And finally, I think the point is this is a contract that we can enter into with anybody who wants to sell the credits. So it's guaranteed savings. Why wouldn't we want to try to get as much of that as possible? So we hopefully are going to get a town review on that. And then that might be something as we're waiting for National Grid to physically get the system ready for more solar. And we're waiting for the Greenworks roof program to give us the money for redoing the school roofs so that we can then put solar on the school roofs. We can right now buy at a discount credits and get guaranteed savings off of our bill. So this is something we're waiting for town council to review. And I think we just have to keep pushing on that and give the broader explanation about why this makes sense. Okay, what are we looking at here, Josh?
This little charge point action, is this where you want to go next?
Yes.
Yes. So we have seen a little dip off since we started charging, but you know, nothing too dramatic. It was already kind of just seemed to be trending down from May anyway. But definitely seeing the session length has gone down a little bit. But you know, pretty doesn't seem like it's affected the amount of people too much, frankly.
Well, we started charging, when?
September.
September. So you see in October, we had a big drop.
No. October is not done yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Do you see the one comment though, about the charge point under drivers tips, if you click on that?
What does it say?
Price gouging, shame on the town.
Steve, come on. That's a little harsh.
I did email Justin and yeah, Steve. I did email Justin and Michelle to ask them. I looked through past announcements that have come out from the town, and I haven't seen anything. That doesn't mean I didn't miss something, but I asked them if they're putting together something, if they need help putting together something, when is something coming out about this, and that the AEC is looking for, you know, transparency in this. So I emailed them twice this week, so hopefully I can get back to you soon on that. That could be the under your marketing, and that could be your the next thing that comes out of that.
Have we put anything out on why this charging is happening? I think that might have been an action item from our last.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to, is that I was asking them if they were putting something together, if they want help putting something together, if we missed it and they already put something together and put something out. So that's what I'm waiting to hear back from them on.
Okay. All right, so we'll just keep tracking and see what happens with respect to the charge times, idle times, and the unique users. Did that indicate what we were making on revenues? Sorry, Josh.
No, because it comes down to the price we're putting in there. Were we charging what, 20, was it 22 cents?
Yep.
Let me see if I can put it in there.
Okay. And I would just say to the comment about price gouging, whoever that may be, the town has to replace these. They're like computers. You have to replace them frequently. And if they break down, the town's responsible for maintaining them.
Actually, it's $2,000 in September.
$2,000 in September? Okay. So we have 18 ports at 5 locations, and these are not inexpensive to replace or to maintain. So I think we need to think not just what the town's supply price, delivered price for electricity is, which may not be price gouging at all when you take into account delivery costs, but we also have to take into account that there's a capital cost that needs to be recovered if we want to keep providing this service. But that's why we want to understand what the town's electricity costs are, so that we know how that 22-cent price, it may not even be covering our costs. And most certainly looking at the 18 cents of National Grid, it's a residential rate, so it doesn't apply here. But if you look what the default supply rate is, as we looked at for National Grid from November 1st into July of next year, we're not price gouging really at all. We're barely covering the supply costs with not much going towards the capital costs. But enough of our public commentary. We can put that in minutes, just so it's on the record. Okay, so great data, great progress. It is good to see that we are covering at least some of the costs, if not all the supply costs. Matters not reasonably known in advance. And so this would be where we vote possibly again, although not according to the meeting minutes, on the July minutes. I apologize for the confusion on this. Is there anything else on matters not reasonably known in advance? Any items for our next agenda? Okay, so why don't we go to the July? What is the date of those meeting minutes? Everybody should have already reviewed them because we were going to vote on them for last time. And I think we discussed it and did not have
That'd be 7/13.
7/13. Thank you. So the meeting minutes from July 13th. Josh, did you say you were not there?
Yeah, I think I was, I don't think I was there.
Okay, and this might have been why we deferred. And most of the people who are here, Steve, you were there. I was there. So it just might be a short vote. And again, it just might be rudimentary because we may have already approved it, but the meeting minutes said we had not. So Steve, I think it's just you and I. So do you have any changes to the July 13th meeting
No,
minutes?
I read them through, but they look fine to me.
Okay, and I agree. So I guess, Steve, would you make a motion and I'll
I
second?
make a motion, we accept the July, what was it, July 2nd?
July 13th.
July 13th minutes.
And I second that motion. Any discussion? So Steve and I will vote. Everybody else, if you weren't there, and I don't think you were, you can abstain. So Tanya Bodell, aye.
Steve Winter, aye.
Josh, do you want to abstain?
That's Josh Dunn, I abstain.
And then if everybody else who's a member could abstain, just to be official, state your name and say you abstain because you were not members at that time.
Tom Daly abstain.
Barbara Russell abstain.
Martha again, Jimmy abstain.
Okay, great. Minutes are approved. 2-0 to 4 abstention. But turns out they were already posted because I thought we had approved them and then realized reading the minutes that we hadn't. So they're on. If anybody wants to take a look at those July meeting minutes, we'll pretend we didn't jump the gun on this, but they are there and we are approved and we are caught up and we have the meeting minutes from September approved. So I will post those and we look forward to your meeting minutes. Barbara, thank you for volunteering to take that over. Well,
Don't
Debbie,
thank me until you see the minutes.
I'm sure they're going to be great. All right. Any other items? Well, I thank everybody for your time and your attentiveness and your passion and your hard work. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Josh. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Thank you, everybody. We are
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Okay.
Night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.